that title and breaking the sweats. Be up or look up, boy, nothing but nets. Georgia Dome in the A, who's wearing the glass slippers? And hitting buzzer beaters, 2 seconds on the clicker. Ain't talking about me, player, try and block these. I'll be running up the court, steady knocking down threes. And we handling the rock, we ready to get to it. And yelling in the paint like shoot the J. Shoot it! You know I got it, if you wanna come get it. Final Four is in Atlanta like, hey, hey, hey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel. Welcome once again to the Road to the Final Four, powered by Pontiac. Coming up here on CBS, 8 second-round games, and by the end of the day, the tournament field of 65 will have been narrowed to the Sweet 16. Joining me, as always, Clark Kellogg and Sports Illustrated Seth Davis. Little did we know 24 hours ago as we sat here the kind of day we were in for yesterday.
Delightful drama across the board. I anticipate much of the same today. Even though we had all of those exciting games, we basically ended up with only 2 lower-seeded teams advancing. We may have a few more surprises today, but I expect similar to what we saw yesterday.
There's only one way to end this weekend, and that is I say break out your umbrellas because it's going to be raining favorites today. Memphis, gone. Oregon, gone. And the big shock today, the Wisconsin Badgers. They go down to UNLV.
Nice to be in the company of a professional soothsayer. Let's set today's menu. Just a few minutes. We'll head out to Columbus to start the action with Tennessee and Virginia, and that is Tennessee head coach Bruce Pearl in the locker room, putting a few pearls of wisdom on the board for the team. Starting at 2:15 Eastern Time, 4 more games will tip off, including the overall #1 seed Florida taking on Purdue, and Wisconsin, the 2nd seed in the Midwest, battling UNLV. And then at around 4:45 Eastern, we'll see the last 3 second-round matchups. That will include Kentucky up against Kansas, the top seed. Not a single, he says, reigning favorites.
Oh, I know. I'm impressed with him going out on a limb like that. Your limb is about 10 or 12 feet long the way you explained it there. But I do like Winthrop. The Winthrop-Oregon matchup is a tremendous matchup just from the standpoint of Winthrop being a team that can play multiple styles. But I also think Wisconsin, after exploding for big points after a slow start, they found their offensive rhythm, and I think they handle UNLV.
Well, obviously I like UNLV, but this first game is going to be interesting to me between Tennessee and Virginia. We all know about the guards, but in the unlikely event that anybody misses an outside shot, the big men are really going to play an important role. I'm talking about Kane and Diani for Virginia, and then Duke Cruz and Wayne Chisholm, the young guys for Tennessee. They really hit that offensive glass. I think the Vols will prevail.
All right, guys, there were 8 terrific tournament games yesterday, including 3 that went to overtime.
Lavender, fall away. Got it! Oden.
Pick for action coming up, an NCAA tournament tripleheader. It all begins in Columbus with Tennessee and Virginia for a spot in the Sweet 16. Enjoy the games, everyone, as March Madness resumes here on CBS.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by Singular, Holiday Inn Express, Miller Lite, and by Pontiac.
Dude, those guys just stole your phone.
Yeah, joke's on them. We're in Italy. My phone doesn't even work.
We're SEC ready. We're SEC ready. Okay, they're not going to show us anything out there we haven't seen all season long. But it's about our identity, and it's about the way we play basketball. We play basketball at Tennessee with passion. Okay, nobody's going to give us this ball game. We got to take it. Okay, they're going to try to take it from us, and we got to take it from them. Bring them in here.
How's that for Pearl Vision as CBS Sports brings you men's NCAA coverage in the South Region, Columbus. It's ACC meeting SEC. Virginia and Tennessee, the winner to advance to the Alamo to take on #1 Ohio State. Hello, everyone. Tim Brando, the G-Man, Mike Jaminski by my side. This should be end-to-end action.
Well, and rest assured, Dave Lato will have his Virginia squad ready, especially on the defensive end of the floor.
Let's take a look at the 10 on the floor for both teams. Guard-laden clubs, Ramar Smith, the outstanding freshman, to go with SEC Player of the Year, Chris Lofton, Juwan Smith, Dane Bradshaw, and Wayne Chisholm is healthy and ready to go. Singletary, Reynolds, and Mamadi Diani to go along with Jason Kane and Tunji Soroye up front for Virginia. Talk about program builders. How about Dave Lato and the job that he's done in just 2 years? The Jim Calhoun protege has done a remarkable job taking his team to the very top of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Today's game is being brought to you in HD TV by Harris Corporation, the world leader in broadcast systems for high-definition television and mobile media. Our officials, John Higgins, Paul Jansen, and Hal Lusk. And we are ready to go in Columbus.
Tim, rest assured, I mean, Tennessee lit up Long Beach State the other day for 121 points, but they know they are playing a much more physical team in Virginia, a much better defensive ball club as well.
And remember Bruce Pearl, a protege of Tom Davis, of course, part of that coaching tree that includes Gary Williams. So a pressing style is something Virginia has seen in the Atlantic Coast Conference as well. Opening tap control to the Volunteers.
Key matchup early on, J.R. Reynolds against Chris Lofton. Reynolds trying to stay in his shirt.
Pass was a little too strong for Chisholm to Juwan Smith, who was cutting near the basket.
Early turnover, an amazing thing in that game, scoring 121 points and 25 assists, only 6 turnovers, but already an early miscue for Tennessee.
4 out of 5 remain from the SEC, 3 of 7 from the Atlantic Coast Conference. Those two leagues tops in RPI all season long. Reynolds picks up where he left off, a 23-point first half in that Virginia demolition the other day.
Juwan Smith going for the steal, missing, and that's what causes the open shot.
Bradshaw rejected by Diani. And Tunji Soroye also very active. Inside, back out to Bradshaw, not there. Ramar Smith gets the rebound and dumps it through. 3-2 Virginia.
Normally you have a long shot and you get a long rebound. That one, though, fell right into his hands, right in front of the rim.
Reynolds all the way to the rack. And the foul goes against the Volunteers. Dane Bradshaw picks it up, his first.
Tim, you know, we talked about Reynolds and the injury issues that he had in the last part of the ACC season, ACC tournament. Had a great week of practice, and it was like a different player in the first round win that they had. Came out and dominated the first 10 minutes of the game, and he has been very aggressive here early.
A hip flexor that really was a problem, and in fact, Dave Lato was not aware of it. Reynolds kind of kept it under his head, and finally, I think, Dave, after a couple of bad games to close out the ACC season, including a loss to last place Wake Forest when they could have won the regular season crown outright, finally got to him and said, we've got to get you healthy in practice so we can be what we've been all year.
Well, and the week of practice was the key thing, because he had not been on the practice floor for a while, and that's where they got their defensive swagger back.
Lofton, and that is not a reach for him. That is Lofton range.
Right, and still Reynolds right in his face, and we talked about earlier, there may be no better contested jump shooter in the country than Lofton. He shocks you when he rises up.
If you enjoyed AC Law yesterday, you'll equally enjoy number 5 as he gets a pilfer. Bradshaw, the glue of this team, gives it up to Juwan Smith. And a 3-ball for Juwan, the junior from Cleveland, Tennessee.
You know, you can characterize Virginia as up-tempo, but Tennessee is explosive, and they are prone to piling up large numbers of points in short periods of time.
8 points in the last 57 seconds for the Volunteers. Kane, whose game has developed quite a bit, number 33, set the pick. Diani feeds Soroye. And Dane Bradshaw got a hand on that one to deflect it. He has no problem going in and posting up as a smaller player. Look at that dexterity. It hung on the rim for quite some time, pulled down by Virginia.
As an undersized 4, he talked yesterday about the fact that he really hadn't been exposed by any team at that position.
Tie ball. The little things, Mike. The little things. The arrow is to Virginia. Wayne Chisholm, who took that hit in the chest, and because he's an asthmatic, they were very concerned about him yesterday. Missed about a half hour of practice. Takes another fall. His nickname is Wheezy.
And this is right now where Tennessee really wants to put pressure on Virginia. Dead ball situations underneath out of bounds. And look at the bailout that they have to use to get the ball in. Diani all the way in the backcourt.
Looking at Chisholm, he is taking a couple of deep breaths since he took that fall. We'll keep an eye on him. Reynolds feeds Soroye. Shot clock winding down to 5. Singletary, much like Lofton, You have no problem with the clock winding down when number 44 can take it into the lane.
But rather than looking for jump shots right now, Virginia trying to put pressure on Tennessee's guards off the dribble.
Lofton, not there. Reynolds fought through that pick pretty well.
You cannot go underneath any screens with this group of guards.
Diani. Numbers for Bradshaw, 3-on-2. Virginia does a nice job in defensive transition.
And that's the two things offensively Dave Lato talked about yesterday. Defensive transition and also guarding the three-point line.
Chisholm, who can hit from outside. That's why they really need him. If Wayne Chisholm could not have gone today, they would have really relied heavily on Duke Cruz, the freshman from Hampton, Virginia, but he does not have the ability to pop out and hit three-point shots.
Soroye has got to do a better job of getting a hand up on that as well.
Singletary, not there. Ramar Smith quickly out to Lofton. He spots up for the tray.
You have to defend outside in with this team on the break. Get the shooters in as soon as possible. Lofton has gotten some early looks in transition.
The heat is on in Columbus. Tennessee 4 out of 6 from downtown, and they've doubled up the Cavaliers.
I didn't think they could start as quickly as they did against Long Beach State, but they have here in the first 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes.
Singletary on a blow-by, and it knocked away from behind. A lot of deflections early for Tennessee. Ramar Smith stop and go. Jawan Smith in some trouble, and in no man's land turns it over. Kane gets it into Reynolds' hands. Reynolds off the bounce.
Yeah, he needed to step out because it was 2 against 3. Tennessee shooting threes early in this game. Virginia getting into the lane. They needed to strike from outside.
J.R. Reynolds has 8 of the Wahoo's 10, and they trail by 4. Chisholm again.
I think Dave Lato may have to make a decision on that with Soroye. They're drawing the shot blocker out, and he's not able to guard Chisholm on the perimeter.
Right away, you can see that Bruce Pearl is going to rely heavily on his bench. Mass substitutions coming up when we return. He'll have 4 new volunteers on the deck. They've already hit 5 from beyond the arc. High rising in Columbus.
Julia McGregor loved
$150,000 in scholarship contributions is on the line. Vote now at ncaasports.com/Pontiac. Not surprisingly, we've got a high-scoring game early on, Mike. The 121 against Long Beach State, 6th highest all-time in the NCAA tournament.
And considering that game, Tim, they got 73 shots up at the basket in 40 minutes. They're on pace for 80 here today. That's 2 a minute. Incredible production.
And as we mentioned, going to timeout, 4 new volunteers on the floor. We'll set them for you. Ryan Childress is coming to the game. Jordan Howell, 32, is Duke Cruz. And Josh Tabb, outstanding defensive guard, number 25, is coming to the game. Cruz, as you can see, is not the threat outside that Chisholm would be. He drives to the basket, and Laurenas Mikalauskas gets the rebound for the Cavaliers.
But a much better low post player, and they're running through their flex offense that time, trying to get him a look. Virginia needs to be more efficient offensively so they can get back in transition and try to calm Tennessee down.
Adrian Joseph checked in during the timeout, as did Will Harris. So Dave Lato also going 3 deep into his bench out of the timeout. Mikalauskas setting the pick for Reynolds. Shot clock at 5. And another fadeaway. Well, JR has got that Lofton feeling going on early.
After the timeout, before that timeout, Dave Lato met him and Singletary out at half court and had a little private chat with his 2 leaders.
Smith. Mikalauskas another rebound.
Virginia is very good at defensively.
Oh, a secondary break to Mikalauskas. And the foul underneath.
Tabb got
everyone. Look at that 3-point shooting, Mike.
6 of 13 in the game, 5 of 9 from downtown so far. Very explosive. Everybody getting into the act from beyond the arc. Even the big guy, Chisholm, stepping out and knocking one down. Bruce Pearl is everywhere he's been. His teams have been the highest scoring teams in their league.
It's that old story that you have to have a linchpin to your approach to the game, and that's his. And Dave Lato is answered by making this Cavaliers team a tougher team. I think that's what he brought, particularly for Singletary and Reynolds, turned their games around.
Well, I think Singletary was there already. Reynolds was the guy that had to make that shift. It wasn't really in his personality or nature, and I think Dave had to challenge him a little bit more. But he's been playing extraordinarily well. There was a stretch early in the season, Tim. He was the best guard in the ACC.
Tab going reversal, right past Joseph.
And that caught Cruz by surprise. Fortunately, it went right to Tab.
There's that pressure off the inbounds pass.
Every made basket, every made free throw early on, Tennessee is going to get in this trap. Watch this. He's not even expecting this pass. It goes right off him to Tab. Sometimes the ball bounces your way. I wonder if he gets an assist for that.
A touch deflection assist. But no, he does not officially. Singletary. On the wing, Jameel Tucker, the freshman from Gary, Indiana, just into the game, drops one through.
Yeah, he finished the season strongly. More minutes for him.
Boy, don't blink. They waste no time getting the ball to the rack. And the foul goes against Tucker on the other end. Lofton will get to the free throw line.
So far, Virginia has sustained the first punch and gotten back in this game. But when you score against Tennessee, you immediately have to convert to defense in your own mind because they're thinking offense.
Tomorrow on The Late Show, Dave is all new with Bernie Mac, plus Paula Abdul. And later this week, don't miss Adam Sandler and Jack Black. Gianni checks out of the game. J.R. Reynolds comes back onto the floor along with Singletary. J.R. with 10 of Virginia's 16. They trail by 3.
So you got him a little blow, and then underneath the 12 minutes will be another timeout. So good use that time, the substitutions by Dave Lato to get Reynolds a little bit extra rest.
They had seen an outstanding feature on Chris Lofton from our studio yesterday on CBS Sports. That chip on his shoulder from being Mr. Kentucky basketball, not being recruited by either the Big Blue or the Cardinal. The Cardinals obviously losers yesterday to Texas A&M. He wants this stage to be his for quite some time in the NCAAs. Reynolds on the wing. Tucker coming over the back. Picks up the foul against Ryan Childress, who had boxed him out.
Tennessee really dodged one that time. There was a defensive mix-up as Reynolds should not get an open look like that, and he couldn't convert.
Dane Bradshaw has got a couple of assists today, and in the tournament has 13 total assists with no turnovers. Back on the floor, number 23 in the orange of Tennessee.
He's undersized, but what it does, it gets an extra ball handler and a guy you can run the offense through out on the floor for Bruce Pearl.
Lofton over Reynolds. This time off the front iron.
Did you notice he had his hand in his face that time, trying to obstruct his vision a little bit?
Singletary a jump stop, using the window, and he takes it right away from Smith. And the foul. That's wanting the ball just a bit more. Timeout. 11:25 remaining. Don't blink. These guards are on the attack in Columbus. Not a cloud in the sky here in the capital of the Buckeye State. Aerial coverage of today's game brought to you by Goodyear. You're on the banks of the Olentangy at the Nationwide Arena. Not far away at the Value Center where the Ohio State Buckeyes play their home basketball games. This very floor would be the one that Thad Matta utilizes during the regular season. Dave Lato, I mean, he's got this program in just the right place, doesn't he?
Well, it was a perfect storm, really, getting him and then the new arena, the John Paul Jones Arena, where they only lost once early this year. It's been a magical place for them, but you hit it on the head early. Toughness is what he's brought.
Kane is fouled by Ramar Smith.
And that's the thing. The physical toughness is what Bruce Pearl was concerned with. His team getting beaten up and getting overmatched, especially inside.
This young man's reemergence he believes is due in large part to Lado. And interestingly, his old coach and the coach that recruited both Reynolds and Singletary, Pete Gillen, is broadcasting as a colleague of ours now, working on Westwood One and the NCAA radio network.
Well, and I think you look at Dave Lado's lineage with Jim Calhoun, and there's Coach Gillen doing the game, but Jim Calhoun has always had great bigs in his program, so Dave Lado very familiar with working with them, and Jason Kane has really blossomed under him.
Sometimes when you're going into your junior, senior year and you don't know really what's happening with you, you're concerned that perhaps it's a collegiate career lost. And he certainly found himself under Lado. There's a leaner by Lofton. 22-18, Tennessee.
A little flare cut that time. He does such a great job of moving without the basketball. That's a tough defensive assignment for Reynolds. You know, they're asking him on one end to score, both of those guys, and then on the other end to defend.
Joseph, Soroye, Kane, Reynolds, and Singletary, the 5 on the floor for Virginia. Both teams have used 9 players already. Shot clock again under 10. Reynolds. There is absolutely no stress for either one of these teams, Mike, when the shot clock is winding down under 10.
All right, let's clear the other 8 guys off and let Reynolds and Lofton go one-on-one. They're waging their own little personal war out on the floor right now.
JR has 13 points. That foul went against Virginia's Adrian Joseph, his first. Wayne Chisholm comes back into the game, as does Ramar Smith. Tab takes a seat, as does Duke Cruz for Tennessee.
You know, it was interesting against Albany to watch J.R. Reynolds' teammates react to him in the way that he was playing. Really gave him a big lift.
Chisholm off the inbound, short-armed that one. Joseph clears for Virginia.
Nothing tricky about Virginia's defense. They make you miss, and then they go get the rebound. Not a lot of steals, not a lot of blocks, but just very solid on their man.
Solomon Tat, number 45, with a 360 move of his own. Pulled down by Chisholm. Ramar Smith missed everything except the backboard. Tat gets the rebound and gets it into Singletary's hands.
After a hot start, Tennessee has definitely cooled down over this last stretch of 4 minutes.
And Dane Bradshaw reaching in a bit too aggressively that time. Will pick up the foul.
But how about the versatility of Bradshaw that time, guarding Singletary, and was very close to having a steal on that play. He can guard 4 positions.
And Bruce Pearl a little upset with that call. He wants his team to be able to show some aggression on this end of the floor. Harris, whose game has really improved of late for the Cavaliers, along with Tucker. 2 complimentary players. Solomon Tat that time turned it over. How about these 2 stars?
Well, they've come as advertised in this game. Lofton, nice little flare that time, getting an open look, and then Reynolds, as he did against Albany, the quick start to lift his team. 13 points for him.
They have 22 of the 43 points. Those 2 outstanding stars. Underneath, Chisholm draws the contact. Soroye got involved, as did Jamil Tucker. Foul does go against Tunji Soroye, his first.
So we talk about Chisholm and Cruz, and Chisholm more perimeter-oriented, Cruz inside, but between the 2 of them, Bruce Pearl gets 17, 18 points and 10 rebounds per. Nice production out of that position.
Young man from Bolivar, Tennessee. You think of this program in the 2 seasons, there have been outstanding stars that came from the state of Tennessee. Willie Kemp in Memphis, Brandon Wright, North Carolina. This is one of those guys, elite players that Bruce Pearl can use as the foundation for his recruitment, not only today, but in years to come.
Well, you touched on it. He wanted to bring Memphis back into the equation, and he wants to play West Tennessee basketball in East Tennessee.
Lofton not there. Singletary pulls it down. Stop and go. And as he was making that move through the double team, he gets bumped. Ryan Childress picks it up.
Singletary recognized the fact that Childress was late getting into the play, so the lane had a little bit of an opening, and he's quick enough and strong enough to take advantage of that. And one big advantage already. 8:44, the 17th foul for Tennessee, so Virginia in the penalty for the rest of the half. That's going to help them.
Singletary unable to convert on the front end of that 1-and-1. Chisholm really wants to use his quickness against Kane, but Jason would not give up the baseline. Good defensive sequence by Kane.
Had him really pinned down low, and there was really no space for him to shoot.
Tat driving baseline.
Expanded minutes for Solomon Tat here early in the first half. Dave Lato likes the energy that he brings on the floor. Both he and Will Harris, the same type of player.
Well, the Nigerians come in and had an impact, particularly with the physical play of Chisholm underneath. A 13-5 run now for the Cavaliers.
Well, with Tat, it's a bigger cover that they can throw at Loft and use his strength to beat him up a little bit and wear him down.
Solomon Tat gets his first foul. J.R. Reynolds back on the floor for Virginia. UVA by 1. 12 minutes gone. Jawan Smith. Kane clears it for Virginia.
All of a sudden, those jump shots are being contested and not falling quite as easily for Tennessee.
Singletary has his pocket pick underneath. Taken away by Chisholm. Just when Pearl needs his defense to amp it up, they manage to get it done. And then just that quickly, Ramar Smith manages to get to the free throw line. 7:40 remaining. Don't blink. And defense, we've got some of that too. Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski, you look at our game summary, consider this. Tennessee, no field goals in the last 3:16, stopped the presses, and yet they're 8 of 12 from the floor.
Well, and that's what it did. Because they're 2 of 11, they can't press Virginia, and that's the net effect of it, Timmy, and the fact that Virginia is able to get out and run their offense. The less productive that Tennessee is, the less they can press.
Ramar Smith at the free throw line for Tennessee. Freshman, Mount Clemens, Michigan. Played at Martin Luther King High School there. His development to go along with that, I think in a lot of respects, Chris Lofton and Dane Bradshaw have helped this young man come along. He has really progressed as the season went on. While you NCAA fans are feeling all the excitement of the big dance, American business is feeling your excitement too. We'll tell you how tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Well, the one thing they said with him, that they knew that he was a competitor. And he struggled early to get used to playing at this level in the SEC, but they had no doubt that he was going to get out and compete on the floor.
Mamadi Diani along with Jameel Tucker on the floor now with Kane and the 2 captain Cavaliers, Singletary and Reynolds. Shot clock again at 10. Reynolds pumps. Boy, the nylon song is being played by J.R.
Childress just shrugged his shoulders. It's all he could do defensively that time against a smaller cover, getting his hand up and contesting the shot, and it still went in.
Bruce Pearl wanted to block that time. Got no call.
Now watch this defensively. He's right there. That's a tough thing. Gets him to settle for the jump shot. And he is in a zone in Columbus.
A little return to sender for those that have defended Chris Lofton. Just, I'm going to knock it down regardless. Chisholm sets a very hard pick and picks up the personal. Little too aggressive with that pick.
There's the look spreading out and a little bit of the forearm, the hedge like that. It was a point of emphasis this year as far as blocking cutters, and now all it's going to do is send Reynolds to the line. And early on in the game against Albany, Tim, J.R. Reynolds he outscored them single-handedly.
Yes,
right now, he's only 5. If he makes these 2 free throws, 5 behind the whole Tennessee team.
40 first half points in this NCAA tournament so far for J.R. Reynolds. Between what he did against UAlbany and so far here against Tennessee.
I'll go back to the point about confidence. You need your big guns to get off quickly so that everybody else can feed off of them. And Reynolds has delivered in both first halves.
Largest lead for the Cavaliers. And it's J.R. Reynolds that's been the story. Chisholm there to clean it up. You know, Juwan Smith was stuck in no man's land, but Chisholm crashing the glass for that offensive putback opportunity, which Tennessee feeds on. He was in the right spot.
But you know what, Timmy, you look at it right now in the last 10 minutes of this game, Tennessee is playing Virginia basketball. They're attacking the rim, they're going inside. There's no more three-point bombs that are being hoisted up, and that's going to serve Virginia well if they can keep that going.
Yanni got the foul, his first. After that scintillating start, the Volunteers struggling from the floor, 2 for their last 12. And that is news because they have been scintillating until really the last 5 minutes. Run in just under the last 7 minutes.
Even with that little setup, Singletary very difficult to defend.
Josh Tabb picks up the foul. And I believe that Bruce is getting a little upset with the tightness of the officiating here early.
And he talked about that yesterday, and that goes back into the being wary of the physical nature of Virginia, so that, that certainly helps. But two, this will be the 10th and 11th free throw of the game for Virginia. This too has helped to calm the tempo of this game down just enough so that it's bothered Tennessee, but it hasn't hurt Virginia.
I thought Dave Lato had a wonderful comment when discussing Tennessee and the comparisons that they have with the teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And obviously, there are those, because of the family tree of coaching with Tom Davis and Gary Williams, that would compare Maryland to Tennessee. And he said, Tennessee's a little different. They press and play basketball. There are other teams that play basketball and then press.
Well, and Bruce Pearl concerned because Virginia beat Maryland twice during the course of the year.
Absolutely.
So, they're familiar with a lot of the things that they run.
Lofton. Childress crashing the offensive boards, unable to finish.
A couple of easy opportunities that you need to convert against this defense.
Reynolds a runner. He has been unstoppable. Up to 22, timeout Tennessee. The Cavaliers lead by 7. JR had a hip flexor, now he's giving Tennessee a pain in the neck.
Okay, now what? Rock, paper, scissors for it? Okay, that's fair. On 3? Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
I threw paper.
I threw a rock.
Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
Low 5.
If you could travel like this for the same price as this, why wouldn't you?
It's the same with auto insurance. With discounts up to 40%, it's possible to get the personal service of a State Farm agent for the same or less than those other guys. Call an agent 24/7 or visit statefarm.com.
You know my name.
Casino Royale, now on DVD and Blu-ray disc.
The new BK Breakfast Value Menu. 10 items starting at $1. The king has cracked your morning rut.
Buckle in, things might get bumpy. Thankfully, the GL450 is the only full-size luxury SUV with a unibody platform to provide maximum comfort and stability. Just one reason why the Mercedes-Benz GL was named the Motor Trend Sport Utility of the Year.
See your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for a special lease offer through Mercedes-Benz Financial.
It's the mother of all episodes. Put on the suit, Mr. Mosby. Barney, this isn't Barney, but I hear that guy's awesome.
A new How I Met Your Mother, CBS tomorrow.
Phil Mickelson, the champion, 2006 at Augusta. A tradition.
He has 22 of Virginia's 32 points.
He has the last 9 points in only 74 seconds. Tennessee, meanwhile, no field goals in their last 5 minutes, and JR will get a well-deserved rest. And what Virginia has done is flip the switch from 7 down to 7 up, and the largest lead of the afternoon for them.
Right, it looked like they were going to get run out in the first 4 minutes of the game, but they have turned it up defensively and not given Tennessee any looks.
Howell feeds Bradshaw. Jordan Howell in the game alongside Juwan Smith.
And they've had long covers on Lofton, which I think has helped.
Lofton's pull-up is short-armed, and Singletary comes out of there with it.
Yeah, Deani and Tat have been on him, and they forced him to be a driver.
How quick was that? 34-25, Virginia by 9.
With J.R. Reynolds out of the game, Singletary will look to be more aggressive for his own shot.
Bradshaw on the dribble drive gets Kane airborne and draws the foul from Jason.
Here's the look. You have to stop the advance of the basketball. People losing sight of where Singletary is. You cannot do that. Because of that last timeout by Bruce Pearl, that J.R. Reynolds is going to get a nice little break here. I wonder if Dave Ladle will keep him on the bench under the 4-minute mark and then let him come back in, well rested.
Dane Bradshaw, a young man that many thought would never make a strong contribution. All he's done has been the glue to this team, and in fact, his coach, Bruce Pearl, and his wife, Kim, endowed a scholarship of $100,000 in his name. That's how much he's meant to the Tennessee program.
And what a delightful young man to talk to. So he's just very endearing.
Singletary, good defensive work by Bradshaw that time. When you talk of kids that get it, he's one of them. Every aspect of circumstances he finds himself in here. Mamadi Diani not there. Rebound taken off the deck by Lofton. Jordan Howell will pump. Nikolauskas and Cruz, as well as Dane Bradshaw, get wrapped up in it. And it's going to go against Duke Cruz. His second. Well, the good news is the foul was not on Dane Bradshaw, who's playing with 2. 4.5 minutes remaining, of course, from the Tennessee perspective. You don't want either Chisholm or Bradshaw to be in foul difficulty late.
Dave Ladle talked yesterday to him about these alternate stat line stuff being important, the aggressiveness, being physical, the poise against the press, and I think Virginia has answered his call so far in this game.
Rain Chisholm coming in for Cruz. And Nikolauskas now with a chance to give Virginia a double-digit lead. And the Lithuanian does so. Bradshaw splitting the double team, trying to give it up to Chisholm. Look at Wayne Chisholm get through that double team and force the personal foul. Well, it's all in the thumbs. Get an NCAA March Madness video game only at mycokerewards.com/NCAA.
Chisholm lost his headband during that exchange. You can see that, especially in the half-court team, their offense has been a little stagnant over this last stretch.
The Volunteers are just 5 of 11 as a team at the free throw line as Chisholm hits that one. Howell leaves the game. Lamar Smith comes back in. Virginia turns to Tunji Soroye, who comes back onto the floor, replacing Lorenas Mikolauskas. 9 team fouls committed now by Virginia. So the next one will be the double bonus for Tennessee.
It's that press. The entry is the key. Kane coming back, getting the ball inbounds, and then they just hand it to Singletary and let him clear out by himself.
Singletary. Well defended by Smith. Loose ball. And he comes out of there with it. Juwan Smith. Raymar Smith blows past Joseph and a foul underneath. Well, that's the way you catch up, right? You manage to get to the free throw line, and with a double bonus the rest of the way, Tennessee could get back into it without a flurry of points. Virginia by 9, and Mike, let's take a look at the Powerade option.
Well, the option early on was J.R. Reynolds, and he had to match Tennessee's three-point shooting, which he did. He held his team in there. 4 of 6 from downtown, 22 points right now, and that's how Virginia was able to sustain that early onslaught by Tennessee. But Tim, after 121 points against Long Beach State, Tennessee only 27 points with 3:46 to go in the first half.
Tennessee is now 0 for their last 10 from the floor in the last 7:07 of this game, and they've struggled at the free throw line as well, hitting less than 50% at the stripe, 6 out of 13.
You know, you look right now, the only double-figure scorer for Tennessee is Wayne Chisholm, and I think Virginia will live at that. They've done a nice job with keeping Smith and Lofton under control, both Smiths and Lawson.
Well, if you think about it, we talked to both Reynolds and Singletary yesterday, and we said, what about that 121 that we all witnessed? And he said, well, those guys didn't play any defense. We plan on playing some defense. Singletary was very quick with that response. Again, the shot clock under 10, and we've said that often, and yet these two guys have made for an easy time in getting the ball in the hoop. Reynolds came down gingerly on his left ankle. He seems to be okay, although Raymar Smith on a blow-by gives it up to Tab. Childress does have range, but not the range of Lofton. And a wise choice to make the extra pass to end the drought for the Volunteers.
And I think that tweak allowed Lofton to get down and finally get a good look in this half. There's a right ankle for Reynolds coming down, and they have a nice matchup now with Tab, a big guard who can stay with him and bother him.
And that's a guy that Bruce Pearl has been getting more minutes to in the latter stages of the season because solely of his defensive capabilities. Very physical. Joseph popping out high. Childress clears it for Tennessee.
Virginia still hasn't found that other scorer to complement Reynolds.
Raymar Smith going to the offhand and collecting the foul. Taking it right to Nikolauskas. And Lorenas picks up the foul, his second.
I can't imagine that Virginia's front line is going to give up any easy layup inside without taking a hard foul.
As memorable as yesterday was in the NCAA tournament, most overtime games, tying the most overtimes in a single day of second round play, the menu today is for something quite similar. And tonight, it's a new race now that all-star favorites Rob and Amber have been eliminated. Anything can happen on a new amazing race all-stars tonight after 60 minutes on CBS.
Right, and Raymar Smith, I think, overshadowed a little bit by Lofton, and Juwan Smith had a terrific game the first round. 22 points and 6 assists, no turnovers for him, Timmy. 3 guys on that team lit it up for over 20.
Reynolds will trigger it in. Tennessee's press always in a better position after a made basket, and particularly after a free throw. And Reynolds still is favoring that ankle just a bit.
It wasn't bad, but he did tweak it just slightly.
Tab switches off onto Singletary, and now Childress gets him. Reynolds runs away from Smith. Not as much lift in that shot. Tab takes it the other way for Tennessee.
He's limping going down the floor.
Nice defensive work by the Cavaliers, forcing that turnover. When he walks, you notice it a bit more. When Reynolds is walking back, you notice tweak a little bit more.
Well, and that's what happens too. You know, you get an injury, and usually something happens on the other side of your body. It's his left hip flexor, but his right ankle. So now he's got stuff going on either side.
Jordan Howell back in the game, replacing Josh Tabb. Bruce Pearl gets another quality outside shooter.
The last 4 minutes, though, defensively, they've gotten back in this game in Tennessee. They've done much better in the half court.
An 8-0 run since UVA had that 11-point lead, which was the game's largest. Kane misses the reversal, but is fouled. Chisholm picks up his second.
I don't know how Singletary saw that. Kane was buried underneath the baseline. Somehow he was able to deliver the pass to him.
Coming up on AT&T at the half, Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg, and that soothsayer Seth Davis will have the latest tournament news. And a look at Florida attempting to become the first team since Duke's repeat champions, plus an AT&T Naismith Watch update. That's all coming up on AT&T at the half. I got a good look at Florida late in the year, and they have their eye on the prize, Mike. They really do.
Well, I think they got it back defensively down the stretch. A little bit of letdown when they clinched the regular season title. But you got to knock the champ out. So a lot to be said for experience and having been on that podium once already.
And that Florida team had a 10-6 record, the same record Tennessee has this year, a season ago when they made that run through the NCAAs. And of course, this year only lost 3 regular season games in the Southeastern Conference. Chisholm now with a dozen, 3 of 5 from the floor. Reynolds. Well, that shot has not been the same since he came down gingerly on that ankle.
And if you're Lofton, you want to attack him and make him play. Attack that injury.
Settled for the deep 3 and put up an air ball. 29.8 remaining. Howell re-enters the game for Lofton. Duke Cruz also looking to get into the game. And we've got a timeout. A game of runs with these outstanding guards on display. Point lead for Virginia. They have not had a field goal since above the 5-minute mark, Mike Jaminski. So Tennessee's defense has allowed them to get back into the game.
Yeah, no, they've really stiffened their resolve, especially in the half court against Virginia. Fewer open looks, better coverage of Reynolds, not letting him penetrate and drive. But I think just the overall feel of the first half, Tim, favors Virginia and the way they want to play.
We'll have to keep a very close eye on Reynolds, though, since that injury. He's favoring it. He's going to take that shoe off now. 23 in the first round of the first half, 22 before the injury in this game, and he's going to the locker room before the rest of his team. He's exiting the sidelines right now.
Imagine go get some ice and then get it retaped. Maybe not a good idea to loosen that shoe up right now to let some swelling happen.
A little clear out coming for Singletary with the last possession of this half. Well, they forced Tucker to take it over Smith. Quality defense by Bruce Pearl's team to close it out. They trail by 3. We'll send you to Greg Gumbel with AT&T at the half. After this message and a word from your local station, you're watching CBS Sports, home of the men's NCAA Basketball Championship.
Virginia with a 38-35 lead on the Volunteers of Tennessee. I'm joined by Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis. Let's talk about this first half and their stars.
Well, J.R. Reynolds has been terrific for Virginia. I would say that he has been really flowing offensively. 45 points in his first 2 halves of basketball in the tournament. 22 here today. Nothing but net. We call that wet, partner. Splash off the dribble, showing you his full repertoire. of offensive efficiency. J.R. Reynolds carrying Virginia in that first half.
Tennessee's got a pretty good sharpshooter themselves, and Chris Lofton, the leading scorer in the SEC. You can see why. But look at the time on the clock. A lot of these came early, and then Virginia was able to clamp down on their defense. Right now, Lofton's got 12 points. He's got 20, he averages 20 on the year, got that 3 late. That really helped spurt their run. And you don't want to over-rely too much only on Lofton making threes. That's Juwan Smith. And then Wayne Chisholm, he actually has made 24 threes on the season, so he hit a couple. But really, Tennessee needs to clamp down on the defense. Virginia was shooting at a very high percentage early in the first half. Once Tennessee started clamping down defensively, they were able to make that run.
10-2 run by Tennessee to close that gap in the first half.
What's going to happen in the second half?
Second half, I think what you're going to see is from Tennessee being able to get the ball inside and force some turnovers. They didn't force as many turnovers as they typically do. And Tennessee, one of the outstanding spurt teams in the game in college basketball, because they can turn you over and turn those turnovers into points.
The way this game is going, whoever has the ball last between Lofton and J.R. Reynolds, their team is going to win the game. Those guys can really shoot it.
Much like you two. Coming up shortly, Purdue takes on the tournament's overall top seed, Florida. The Gators are
One of these will be Sweet 16 bound. The CBS Sports coverage of NCAA basketball continues after this message and a word from your local station.
When I got my new H3, I customized it.
Coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by AIG. Courtyard by Marriott. BF Goodrich Tires. And by Chevrolet.
Here in Columbus, in the South region, in search of the Alamo, Virginia and Tennessee. The Cavaliers lead it by 3. Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski, and I think probably the key will be how healthy is J.R. Reynolds in the second half.
Well, he certainly was healthy early on and got healthy in this game. Came out, really kept his team in it. Let's take a look at the highlights for him from that first half. Knocking down the 3 really gave his team a boost of confidence early on when Tennessee was knocking down threes in their own right. To step back there, he saw a lot of different covers in this game. And right there is when he tweaked his right ankle, left the bench a little early, got retaped, and seems to be okay. We'll keep an eye on him.
As you look at the in-game box score powered by CSTV, the 24-hour college sports channel from CBS, Lofton leading the way. The question becomes, if Reynolds can't be as effective, who will step up other than Singletary? And today's game is being brought to you in HD TV by Harris Corporation, the world leader in broadcast systems for high-definition television and mobile media.
Well, remember in the second half against Albany, it was Singletary who stepped up and scored. Reynolds was more of a playmaker in that game, but they do need to find somebody other than those two where those points come, whether it's Kane or Diani.
Well, Singletary only scored 4 in the first half, but he deferred to the hotter guard. I mean, you know that he can light it up whenever he'd like. But the question becomes who will be the assist man as the blocking foul is spotted on Kane to open the second half. Jason with his second.
I think the key really for Tennessee right here, and here's a good aggressive move, is whether that guy right there, Raymar Smith and Juwan Smith, can catch fire. They've combined for only 6 points.
Soroye got his hand in there to knock that bounce pass away. Another one of the reasons we talk about the value of Dane Bradshaw. And he's a young man that they really count on for inbounds passes, which can become vital in a close game. Raymar Smith, nice pass to Chisholm, but that's an offensive foul. This time Kane collects the player control foul. Number 3 against Chisholm.
Soroye, the shot blocker. Kane is the guy who will step up and take charges. See Soroye occupied right there, and he was there in plenty of time.
And Bruce Pearl has made the decision to stay with Wayne Chisholm, though he picks up an early 3rd foul. Needs his threat of offense from deep to stretch the Virginia defense. Kane to Soroye, fouled by Chisholm, and that's 4. So he rolled the dice and paid a price. That's huge.
Yeah, and then all of it's all caused by Virginia throwing over the top to Kane, who made a pretty good rush up the floor and delivered to Soroye to draw that foul. It's one way to beat Tennessee's press, throw over the top of it.
And Duke Cruz will get in now by absolute necessity. 2 fouls in 4 seconds here against Chisholm.
Here's the look. That's a pretty good play. And all the body coming from behind on Soroye. The one thing that Cruz is, the advantage he has, he's better on the point of the press than Chisholm is, but you talked about not the three-point threat that he is.
Soroye pushes the lead back to 5, and Wayne Chisholm will sit probably for quite some time. High pick and roll. Bradshaw can't shoot it, but it always looks to pass first. On the dribble drive, too strong. Out of bounds to Tennessee.
Well, you can see what Virginia's doing on those screen rolls. They are really making sure that Lofton gives the ball up, and I think they'll live with Bradshaw making plays around the basket.
Tennessee closed on a 10-2 run in the first half to cut it to 3. Both teams had some droughts. Lofton off the dribble, loses it. Run down by Cruz. And that's a palming call against Raymar Smith.
That was stellar defense by Mamadi Diani.
Yes, it was.
We talked about it. One of the adjustments that the UVA made was to get a bigger cover on Lofton. But that time he was down low, digging out that turnover.
Two trips and 2 turnovers for Tennessee on offense. Bradshaw with a pick. Oh, the presence of mind for the throw out to Juwan Smith.
You talk about the value of Bradshaw and what he does. Hurt his wrist falling down there, but what a defensive play in his own right out front against the ball handler.
So gutsy. He really does epitomize what the NCAA tournament is all about.
We talked about yesterday about the fact he never knows when his last game is now, and he savors every single moment of every day of this whole process.
Diani being dogged by Juwan Smith. Shot clock again down to 7. Singletary gives it up. 3 ball not there.
Again, that's what Tennessee is doing. They are jumping Singletary with a big and not worrying about his guy who's setting the screen.
Well, if you can turn Diani into a jump shooter, you've done a nice job. Mamadi Diani, that's not his strength. And Josh Tabb will come back into the game for Tennessee. Jameel Tucker also in for Virginia. Chris Lofton takes a seat. And Jason King comes out of the game for Tucker for Virginia.
Tennessee running through the flex offense. We talked about Tom Davis's influence on this group. Now late in the shot clock, they'll come set that high screen roll.
Raymar Smith on the bounce, able to draw the contact. And it goes against Sean Singletary. We're in the South region. The winner of this game advances to meet the Buckeyes, who got that thrilling victory in overtime against Xavier. And this is their floor, as we mentioned earlier, the Value City Arena.
You think there were some tense moments in Columbus here yesterday? People watching that game?
They actually moved this floor over to the Nationwide Arena, as Ohio State is the host school for this regional site. And another foul spotted inside. So this is the same floor that Tennessee was on when they lost that very close game. And Bruce Pearl thought there was an out-of-bounds play that wasn't uncalled. And perhaps they'll have another shot at Ohio State in the round of 16. It was on this very floor, just in a different building. Over 2.5 minutes gone here in the second half. Smith. Loose ball, Childress. Cruz kept that one alive. Knocking it out into Childress's hands.
Can't get the rebound. Try to keep it alive down your own end. Something good might happen. This is one thing Bruce Pearl talked about. This is an underappreciated part of his team, the patience that they have in the half court.
Raymar Smith lost it on the way up, but retrieves it. And Mikalauskas lost his footing. Really a tough luck foul when you think about it. Lorenas Mikalauskas picks up his 4th simply because he lost his footing that time.
But already we saw Virginia get in the early penalty in the first half, and now fouls are starting to pile up on the Cavaliers. One issue with Tennessee, though, they left some points at the free throw line in that first half, only 9 of 16.
One of the teams participating in our second game here in Columbus today, Virginia Tech, has really struggled at the free throw line, though have won their fair share of close games, including the one the other night against Illinois. They will play in game 2 against the Salukis of Southern Illinois. Nice block.
Soroya really covers up a lot of mistakes on that back line. Not a great offensive player.
Singletary. Out of bounds, it belongs to the Volunteers.
Soroya swatting that ball out of bounds. This team's kind of treading water the first 4 minutes of this half.
Two clubs that like to run offenses from the outside in so far have been negated. Cruz right past Singletary.
Yeah, if they run that play, Cruz is the guy, he's the big that's got to make them pay. So far the big guns, we have not heard much from Reynolds or Lofton in this half.
Reynolds right to the rack.
Still, he is hobbling on that ankle, Tim. It is not close to 100%. Wincing and not running well.
Childress from downtown. You've got to check him. Sophomore from Cincinnati, Moore High School. We're tied at 42.
At 32%, which is adequate for a big, and that one caught Kane by surprise, had his arms down.
Here comes that pressure. They're getting into Reynolds' hands. We'll see here how that ankle's affected, because Lofton is right there with him in a switch to Cruz. He'll take the three. That definitely did not have the lift that we saw early in this game. Soroya loses it out of bounds. Timeout. Ryan Childress. From his freshman year, he dropped 20 pounds, and now he's dropping threes. Near the end of today's game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team to honor their determination and outstanding play. Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. America's brand supports America's best, Chevy and American Revolution. And our aerial coverage of today's game is brought to you by Goodyear.
Tim, we talked to Chris Lofton yesterday, and he carried the Wichita State game with him all summer long. Really was a motivating factor. And you got to think here at some point in the next few minutes that he's got to get reignited in this offense for Tennessee.
That was the second round opponent a season ago after he had beaten Winthrop with that thrilling buzzer beater. Smith, count it, and a foul on Kane.
Good aggressive move by Juwan Smith. Letting him get to his right hand. He's going to finish the wave in by Joseph. The late step up. The interesting thing is that Lofton was on that side of the floor. His defender never left him to help on the drive. They're going to stay in his shirt as much as they can, but a good finish by Juwan Smith.
Adrian Joseph, they called for the reach rather than Kane, and that's a good break really for Virginia. That's just the second on Joseph. So it was the reach that brought that foul as opposed to player control. 45-42, Tennessee by 3. Juwan Smith with a pick. And a subtle deuce on the other end, 47-42. They've amped it up.
The timeout for Virginia, but what they've done they've made Virginia pick up their dribble way in the backcourt, and that has hurt them.
A 12-4 run for the Volunteers as SEC meets ACC.
Hello. It's this turnover. You see the ball way out here starting the offense, and then this is the guy right here who they're going to try to get it to. Singletary can't receive. Reynolds has no outlets, and that's what causes the turnover. Great defensive pressure by Smith and Lofton gets them 2 points.
Virginia has turned it over 3 times. That make it a 5-second call. They've had 4 turnovers and 1 field goal in this half.
And that is exactly where Bruce Pearl talked about yesterday in dead ball situations where that man can't run to try to get a turnover, which they did.
Right away, Cruz.
Soroye had no chance to get that block, Tim, and it left Cruz wide open on the offensive glass.
This is a key point in the game now for Virginia, particularly with Reynolds hobbled somewhat. Let's see what happens. And he willed that one into the hoop.
Well, he looked better, and I think now, after running up and down for 5 minutes, maybe that ankle's starting to loosen up a little bit. He looks solid on that play.
They're going to need him because he struggled in the latter stages of the half after he tweaked it, and then in the early moments of this half as well. And during that time, Tennessee went on another run. In fact, it's a 24-8 run since a 26-8 run for Virginia in the middle portion of the first half, which allowed them to come down from down 7 to up 7.
Big minutes for the freshman Cruz, too, with Chisholm in foul trouble.
Childress with the shot clock at 2.
He has been huge in this game, knocking down threes.
The Volunteers lead by 8. Kane looking to assert himself.
Stepped out of bounds.
On the inline, and Tennessee gets it back.
To me, that's what happens. Here's the three by Childress. Terrific shot for him, giving his team an alternate score to Lofton, and then Kane trying to do too much, full court dribbling and carrying it out of bounds.
And that really seems to be the difference, G-Man, in these two teams right now. Virginia struggling to find a third option to score, and Singletary really not looking for his shot that often, whereas Tennessee is getting plenty of help for Lofton in Juwan Smith, in Ryan Childress, and more. And there's a foul against Reynolds.
Ryan Childress not only with the 6 points, but 6 rebounds as well, leading the team in that category. There's the look. That may have just been a collision. I think they called extending the arm, but I think they just kind of ran into one another.
The other thing that Tennessee has done, they have, I think, altered what they've done offensively with the tight whistle. Jason Kane will pick up that foul reaching in. This has been a rather tightly officiated game. That's not meant as a criticism, but that's a fact. And I think Bruce Pearl's team responded to that being the way the game was going to go. And right now, Virginia's in a similar situation as Kane now has 3.
Importantly, it's the 7th team foul, so Tennessee shooting free throws for the rest of the game, 13-06. They've got to convert, though. This is the stage. This is the thing Dave Lato was talking about. You know, we talked about the explosiveness of Tennessee. They're going to be able to get into their press now. Get another turnover, and all of a sudden that lead starts to expand. It's already double figures.
They've scored on their last 7 trips down the floor of the Volunteers. Solomon Tack gets the inbounds pass. Soroye, Adrian Joseph, Reynolds, and Kane on the floor. Singletary getting a blow on the sideline. Kane trying to assert himself, not a bad idea, and he takes Childress into the paint to pick up the foul.
They want him to be more aggressive. And early in the season, when he was a screener, teams would leave him alone, and they needed him to talk to him about looking for his shot more and more often. He's got a nice little mid-range jump shot, and has shown the ability to put it on the floor.
Early in his career, Mike, foul difficulty was an issue, and to some extent, that's what Dave Lato has worked with him on during the last half of this season to improve in that area. And usually it's early fouls for him, as you see Howell taking a seat for Tennessee. He's playing with 3 fouls now. He'll need to stay away from that 4th, and the Singletary will come in for him.
Well, he picked up a cheap one down the other end in the wave and the grab of the driver going by him. Can't afford to give away those easily.
Lamar Smith leading Tennessee. Often trying to run that curl. Bradshaw, Tabb, and Childress. The others on the floor for the Volunteers. A scoop to the hoop by Lofton, unable to convert. Singletary from downtown, really well defended by Tabb. Lofton, it's 2-on-2, he'll take it himself. Not there, Tabb gets the rebound. And Bruce Pearl instructs them to get it out and run the offense.
You've seen the pressure of a possible Sweet 16 appearance starting to creep into this game on the shooters.
Whoa. Bradshaw got caught in no man's land, turns it over. Singletary fouled on the reach by Ramar Smith.
And that's what I really believe Singletary needs to do, Timmy, from here on out. Put pressure on Tennessee off the dribble. Try to get to the rim as much as he can. He's not seeing a big basket right now, only 2 of 8 in this game, but he might be able to find some rhythm here at the free throw shooter, at the free throw line, second in the ACC at 88%.
If this half goes as we expected, it'll be a mirror image, really, of the first. Whenever reserve is needed, called upon by either one of these teams with outstanding guards, you're able to get quick points when you need them desperately. And now Virginia's in that mode, having surrendered this run to Tennessee from the end of the first half to the opening moments of the second. Bradshaw committed his first turnover of the tournament to go along with 13 assists.
So you know what, Virginia has had to react to him because they've got Adrian Joseph on him. They pulled Kane out of the game and they've gone smaller in this stretch.
See how he responds after that turnover with the shot clock winding down. That's how. And he pounds that chest as if to say, I want to get there.
Well, and you know what, there's no reason why Joseph shouldn't be out pressuring that shot. You can understand if he had a big cover on him, but Joseph should be in better defensive position.
His first points today, and they come at a time when they really needed it. Joseph there with the flush.
Makes it up on the other end now. What an athletic play.
These teams aren't just guard laden, they're veteran guards, and that can really make a difference. With the exception of Ramar Smith, the freshman, who's really come on strong. Rebound to Tat.
Tat's given Dave Lato some nice minutes in this game, especially on the glass and defensively.
Joseph over Bradshaw, and Dane's going to pick up the foul. 3 on Bradshaw. The Volunteers, with their charismatic coach and outstanding talent, have the lead early in the half. Tennessee leads it by 7. Simon Cowell can dish it out on American Idol, but can he take it? Watch him get a dose of his own medicine tonight on 60 Minutes. Tim Brando along with my own personal Simon, Mike Jaminski. Oh, it's been a wonderful year.
Just don't sing.
Yes.
Adrian Joseph getting involved offensively with that nice foul early on, and then the strong move to the basket.
When you think about it, really the difference in this game, and it's still very close with plenty of time remaining, Jason Kane coming in, but the support for Lofton has been there, not so much for Reynolds for Virginia.
Yeah, and the one we thought that would take over is in Singletary in this game, and just not seeing a big rim right now, but great players have a way of putting that behind them and having a good last 10 minutes.
We should mention Kane back on the floor. The official scorers have at times been alarming to us. Jason Kane was officially with 3 fouls a few moments ago. We're now told it's 2, so one of his fouls was given to another player. So he's back on the floor, the shot clock winding down. That's important because of the level of aggression he can play with, like right now against Ramar Smith. Loose ball, shot clock winding down, and a tie ball given. The arrow is going to Virginia. So
it was going to be Virginia's ball anyway, yes. And it was not a shot clock violation because the whistle blew before it expired. But that was a terrific defensive sequence by Singletary and Kane to fight through on that 2-man game and tie up Smith.
10 minutes gone here in the second half. A trip to the Sweet 16 in the balance, and Bruce Pearl wanted a traveling violation there on Singletary on that inbounds pass. Mamadi Diani on the floor along with Reynolds, Joseph, Kane, and Singletary, and there's the bump.
You're a point guard, and in a screen roll situation, the big switches off on you. What you do is dribble right at him, put pressure on him, and Cruz was forced to foul.
That's his third. Remember, Wayne Chisholm picked up a third and a fourth within a 4-second period to open this half. So Cruz will have to be a bit more careful with this much time remaining. Ryan Childress is looking to come in along with Lofton on the next dead ball for Tennessee.
Not a good decision that time in Singletary on the underneath out of bounds.
Cruz, and that's a walk against Duke Cruz. Foul difficulty, always an issue, particularly with so much at stake. Mikalauskas is more of a role player. They don't expect offense from him. Chisholm, that's big because they could use his offense, could this Tennessee team. And he's had to sit really for the entire second half, short of a few seconds. Joseph drives baseline, no one there to get him.
There was confusion with the substitutions that last time. Tennessee didn't identify who they were going to guard, and that left Joseph wide open.
Well, Cruz with the third foul didn't want to pick up a fourth. Lofton. Childress on the offensive glass.
Boy, what a boost he has been.
8 points for Ryan Childress. That and his board work has been outstanding for Tennessee. All of his points in the second half. Reynolds. That shot is not the same. The lift has not been there since that ankle was tweaked in the first half. Raymar Smith turns it over, palming the basketball, a point of emphasis in the college game.
Well, and what they do too is you take away his right hand, force him to go left, and on the crossover dribble, that's where he got the palming.
Every coach at the beginning of this NCAA tournament was told by Hank Nichols and company that all of the points of emphasis would be called to the letter of the law in this NCAA tournament.
At least Virginia has gotten level now with the foul situation. They'll be shooting one-on-one, as will Tennessee the rest of the way.
Raymar Smith got his third foul there, and Singletary gets to the free throw line. Let's take a look, Mike, at our tournament summary, and the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee can be proud, really, of seeing those tight games yesterday in the second round.
Play all the higher seeds, holding serve. Butler and Winthrop, probably the darlings of the tournament, left in the field. Butler, a big win against Maryland.
And congratulations to Anthony Grant's team, Virginia Commonwealth, acquitting themselves as nicely as they did, losing in overtime after that win against Duke to Pittsburgh yesterday. Former Billy Donovan assistant. Cruz working in on Mikalauskas baseline. Oh, that's a nice play.
It's always good if you're a big man, if you get the ball on the move, and Cruz was able to get that flashing across the lane, and he had Mikalauskas on his back. Good catch.
14 bench points in this half for Tennessee. So the supporting role has done the job. And as Bruce Pearl would say when he recruits his players, you're not only athletes at Tennessee, but you're performing, and we need the guys in a complementary role to deliver the goods, and they have. We'll be back. Tennessee leads it by 6, and aerial coverage of today's game is brought to you by Goodyear.
Looks like your boat down in Shreveport. You know something like that, don't you?
That boat sailed a long time ago. And it's the women that are in charge of it, by the way. Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski, happy to have you with us. Here's Lofton, not there. Pulled down by Singletary. You would think it's his time in the game.
Well, he's been much more aggressive and not settling for the outside shot, which had not fallen for him. Good idea, attack the rim.
Reynolds has stayed in the game, though he's not been himself, and Singletary knows when to call his own number. The Tennessee bench has been the difference here in the second half. Howell lost his dribble. That's an over and back.
Nice, strong hedge by Soroye on that two-man game and used his arms to dig down.
Take a look at this, and this goes back to when Reynolds got that injury, Mike. 22 points in the first 14 minutes. Only 4 since then.
Well, and any sort of lower leg injury is going to affect your lift and your jump shot.
Joseph Oh, the iron unkind. Singletary gets it on the deck. Back to Joseph. Count it. 61-59.
Is Adrian Joseph the guy to step up? 3 baskets here in the last 4 minutes. And how about the hustle play by Singletary getting on the deck?
Lofton, a wraparound, rejected by Joseph.
I think Virginia may have found that other guy.
Junji Soroye on the floor along with Singletary, a hobbling Reynolds, and Mamadi Diani. Singletary pumps again. Not this time. Well defended by Smith. Loose ball. Wisely not touched by Lofton. It will belong to Tennessee. How about the hustle here?
There's the play, the tip, and your point guard getting in and digging that out, having the presence of mind to find him through all those orange jerseys. But Singletary, Tim, was not happy with that last three-point attempt, and he shouldn't have been. Still plenty of time on the clock. You don't need to settle for that.
Singletary does have a team-high 5 rebounds. How many times do we talk about outstanding guards at rebounding the basketball, and he's one of them. Perhaps the first that comes to mind are those that Denny Crum had at Louisville back in the day, Lancaster Gordon, Milt Wagner types. Singletary much smaller, but has the hops to get his rebounds. Bradshaw in traffic, gives it up to Smith. Shot clock at 3. Oh, he banked it in. So it's open in Columbus on Sundays, huh? 64-59.
Sometimes it gets in the way in your favor.
13, 4, and 10 in this half. And a bump by Lofton against Singletary. Well, Deron Washington had one of these the other night.
You know, the thing is, you're taught to make your mistakes up on the rim. The clock was going down. Get a shot up. A couple of good things can happen. Either it's going to go in or you can get an offensive rebound. But the presence of mind to just get the shot up is the key part.
Juwan Smith understanding that his team feasts on offensive rebounds and putbacks. And in Bruce Pearl's offense, that's something they teach with the clock winding down. It may not look artistic at times, but it is effective.
Big miss by Singletary at 88% on the front end of a one-on-one.
Virginia closed the gap to 2, and Tennessee responds. There's a turnover by Ramar Smith, anticipating a move by Wayne Chisholm, who's just back into the game for the first time since picking up his 4th.
That's 2 or 3 times now recently. Soroye has been solid in that screen roll game. The long arms, it makes it very difficult to find a passing angle, and he couldn't get a hold of that one.
2 coaches in their second years trying to make statements, changing the culture at Knoxville as well as in Charlottesville. Joseph short-armed that one out of bounds. It belongs to the Volunteers. It was really interesting in talking with J.R. Reynolds yesterday. You asked him the question, you know, what does all of this mean? He says, well, it means that we can change the face of Virginia basketball.
For 25 plus years, it's been Ralph Sampson, and really nothing after that. Now these guys with this run in the new arena have a chance to put their own stamp on things.
And the Volunteers, by contrast, even in the era of Ernie and Bernie, were never able to get that far in postseason play. And an offensive foul against Tennessee. Josh Tabb picks up his 3rd as Jason King has the position.
You have to slide off your man and come over and step in. He kept Chisholm at bay for as long as he could and then committed to take the foul.
Tabb is checking Reynolds off the ball, Mike, but I get the feeling that the Volunteers are now much less concerned with Reynolds as a viable option.
Singletary should be their main concern.
Tabb in traffic. There's Bradshaw again wreaking havoc. Out of bounds to Virginia with only 6 to shoot. 3:49 remaining. Coming down to cases in Columbus. The orange of Virginia and the orange of Tennessee.
Gentlemen.
It's the difference from beyond the arc. Tennessee with the edge there. A quiet 14 for Lofton. Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski. Mike, with Ohio State having a look at this game, knowing in the Sweet 16 they'll get one of these two opponents, which one, in your opinion, in a game of matchups, would be the better foe for the Buckeyes?
I think just from a strength and physical standpoint, Virginia probably the better matchup to me. But if Tennessee gets through and they shoot the three, they haven't shot it particularly well today. But that could be a problem. Of course, Mr. Oden he's a matchup nightmare for either of these teams.
Singletary. Chisholm brings down the rebound, makes sure he gets it in the hands of Ramar Smith.
But I would think Tennessee would have a lot of confidence playing against Ohio State, having already seen them once and played them right down to the wire here.
Lofton dumps it into Chisholm. Good spacing to Ramar Smith. Kane the rebound.
Big opportunity going by. That was a nice play in offense.
Singletary gives it to Reynolds. He's only taken one shot, make it two in the last 10.5 minutes. Chisholm is fouled by Mamadi Diani. Well, look at J.R. Reynolds' face. He knows he got a beautiful drive and dish from his backcourt mate, and yet could not drop it through.
That's why, unless you're on an incredible streak, at last 3 minutes of a game like this, the rim is going to get a lot smaller. Anything you can get inside is going to be a bonus.
A young man who's fought through some concern with his asthmatic condition after being hit in the head the other day. Could not come up with that free throw, and gives Virginia some added life here with 3+ minutes remaining. Joseph. Adrian Joseph with the wing three.
Quick timeout by Dave Lato. What a good flare off this two-man game for Adrian Joseph, seeing a big basket.
Cavaliers went 4 minutes without a basket, but they got one from Joseph. Look at our game reset. The possession arrow is to Tennessee the rest of the way, and a full complement of timeouts for them as well. And Mike, we found perhaps the third option for Virginia. It's Adrian Joseph, 10 points all in this half.
And I love that last play. When you pick and flare, it's virtually impossible for the defense to get out to you. A pick and roll takes you right into the paint and where all the help is.
Chisholm setting up pick and roll. Lofton gets it to Smith. There's Bradshaw to a wide open Jawan Smith. A huge three-baller for Jawan Smith.
And how about Dane Bradshaw? The swing of the basketball, the extra pass to the opposite side of the floor.
Offensive foul on Singletary.
Both ends of the floor, Jawan Smith getting it done. Anticipating the right-hand drive, sliding his feet beautifully, keeping his arms up in the air. Textbook.
16 points, 13 of them this half for Jawan Smith, and Bradshaw needs a timeout. 2:20 remaining. Who's gonna get to San Antonio? We'll find out soon.
When you have a family, it's always a good time to buy.
It's a great real estate market.
In this market, there's a lot of options.
The interest rates are low.
It didn't make sense for us to spend the same amount of money renting something when we could own it.
Working with a realtor took all the guesswork out.
This is the best market in years in terms of choice.
Interest rates are at historic lows. Home choices have increased and prices are favorable. Every market's different. Call a realtor today.
If we didn't buy now, we would have missed the opportunity on this home.
Yeah.
What's that old story, Mike? Teams that press don't like being pressed. Well, we may have an example of it coming up now as Virginia tries to take the ball away from Tennessee.
Well, what happened that last play, Bradshaw had to call a timeout. 3 guys from Tennessee turned their back on the play and weren't aware that Virginia was pressing.
Ramar Smith, a solo. Fouled at the rack. Reynolds coming over to give the help. Will pick it up. Follow every minute of the madness at CBS Sportsline. Get up-to-the-minute scores and stats. Plus, watch on-demand highlights from every game all the way through the championship at CBSSportsline.com.
See, I like that. I don't like breaking the press and then pulling it back and running offense. Ramar Smith that time had a notion to take it all the way to the rim. If they're going to pressure you, try to make something happen offensively.
Smith, 4 out of 6 at the free throw line. 6 points in this half, though, for him. It's one of the two, a 2-possession game with 2 and change remaining. Reynolds. Oh, the rainbow wouldn't go. Kane there to follow. Out of bounds. Chisholm was looking.
It's white ball. Now, that's a good play. That's the new rule. And he tried to get a timeout, but he was not established on the floor. Good call by the referees. Kane missing at point-blank range. Right here, he's trying to call a timeout, but that is not allowed this year. You have to have both feet on the floor.
Al Lusk very quick to give us the indication that the ball and the player were out of bounds. So Virginia's got it. And on the inbounds pass, Kane trying to get free was held by Chris Lofton. Well, the defensive job by Virginia on Lofton has been impressive today.
And it's been mostly big covers, and that's the thing that has bothered him. They've got the Deani Josephson. Tat's done a nice job on him. Be physical, limit his good looks at the rim.
An outstanding array of games coming up following this matchup. Headlined by Purdue against Florida, Matt Painter's team, UNLV, Wisconsin. Virginia Tech, Southern Illinois. We'll have that one here. And, of course, Winthrop, Greg Marshall's team with that 11 seed coming off the win against Notre Dame. Picked by many to be the double-digit seed that gets to the Sweet 16 this year. A veteran team that he has from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Very important defensive possession here for Virginia. Lofton, not there. Singletary the rebound. On the push to Deani for 3. Chisholm brings down another rebound. And a foul against Singletary.
Now, Tim, a big miss down the other end. And Virginia got the stop. The long shot on the baseline by Lofton had them with numbers, but Deani just couldn't make it go down.
We've mentioned it many times this afternoon, Mike, but it was evident from the moment Reynolds was hurt. And I really do think that that's been a factor in the second half, that Tennessee understood that J.R. Reynolds was not himself here in the second half. From a defensive standpoint, it gave them an edge.
The first round game against Long Beach State, Tennessee dazzled us with their offense, but it's been a pretty good defensive effort here tonight. Virginia only shooting 37% in this game.
69-63.
And also that Tennessee +9 in the rebounding advantage too, so they've made a miss and they've gotten those misses.
Kane off the bounce. And the foul will go against Chisholm, and he's done. That's 5. So Chisholm will leave the game with 13 points. Good idea to go right at him.
Yeah, and maybe Kane got away. Might have lowered that shoulder a little bit, which is usually an indicator.
Yep. But certainly worth a try, don't you think?
No, absolutely.
At this stage of the game, you're trying to get as many points as possible, and stopping the clock and getting a few doesn't hurt. Chisholm takes a seat.
Now Childress coming in, and Bruce Pearl wanting to get some scoring out there, and also another ball handler on the floor offensively. And he's also been their Childress has been their best rebounder in this game.
Senior from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, John Bartram High School. You could call him a late bloomer in college, but he certainly meant a great deal to Virginia's success this year. An 11-5 Atlantic Coast Conference regular season record, tying for the regular season crown. Biani, as you mentioned, that large body giving Lofton with his length some trouble today. Smith stripped by Kane. Childress was absolutely stripped, and Singletary's fouled. Wave it off. No continuation, and Dave Lato cannot believe it. What a tremendous defensive play by Kane.
Now let's see where the bump is if he has gone into his shooting motion already. There's the bump. There's that one extra step.
Boy, I've seen those count before, Mike. I've seen them count many times. Ramar Smith has 4. Big sigh of relief on the Tennessee sideline. Again, kudos to Jason Kane for reaching in on that pass to Childress to knock it away to give Virginia the opportunity. Timeout. First point by Singletary or Reynolds in the last 7 minutes. We'll be back. And Mike Jaminski, I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be than right here with you right now.
Big free throw right now, but you look at Virginia, you want to get to either Childress or Bradshaw to foul them, both in the mid-50s.
Tennessee has missed 4 of their last 6 free throws. 2-point game. Oh, there's Childress open underneath. Fouled by Kane.
And that's got to be a technical foul because Kane grabbed onto the rim to try to stay in the air.
Take a look.
You can't see it in that play, but he had grabbed onto the rim. Good pump fake inside by Childress.
Oh, you're right. You're right. He was hanging on the iron. And there was not a player underneath him. But a break for Virginia. Childress, it was a hard foul. To Jason Kane's credit, he came over in an act of sportsmanship to check on him.
And Childress has been solid in this game, but 53% on the line. It didn't look like it on that play.
9 points, 8 rebounds, all in this half for Ryan Childress, sophomore from Cincinnati. How big is that? Got them both. Timeout. Tennessee wants to march on to San Antonio.
Trying to penetrate, maybe get an old-fashioned three-point play, because really nobody has been reliable from a three-point shot in this game. Reynolds was hot early, but after the injury, and Adrian Joseph is the only one who's really knocked one down in this second half.
Now remember, without Chisholm in the game, you would think that Virginia could drive to the basket. And Singletary's going to do that, and he draws the contact. Really no last line of defense there. With Chisholm out, Ramar Smith picked up the foul, and that's number 5 on him. So Jordan Howell will be called upon to come in. He becomes the second volunteer to have picked up 5 this afternoon. This is where it really pays dividends to have an incredibly gifted point guard.
Great plays. Who shoots 88% from the free throw line. That's the big part of the transaction. You still 21.4 left. Plenty of time to extend through quick hitting plays inside. Try to get a steal or foul the guy that you want. And it's still Childress or Bradshaw, those guys you want to try to put on the line.
Sean Singletary, William Penn Charter School, Philadelphia, PA. Always plays with confidence and strength. Much stronger than that slight body build would indicate on television. He's got both of them.
Well, a good move here. You got Tat coming in, and Singletary has 4 fouls. And you think, why is he coming out of the game? Dave Lato wants to save him for the offense.
Lofton trapped and fouled by Biani.
Somehow you've got to face guard him and not let Lofton be a receiver in that situation. He's the obvious guy they're going to at 80% from the line. You've got to do everything you can. That was too easy a catch.
Well, we saw it yesterday when you think about it, Mike, particularly when you're nursing just a 2-point lead. A missed free throw sometimes can shock the team that's at the line. I felt that's what happened to Xavier's club when Cage missed that free throw. They were so shocked that they forgot to defend. And now here we have a three-point game, and what Bruce Pearl has decided to do is get his players back to the other end of the floor. Still a two-possession game. Singletary again. Off the pick from Kane. Count it. A one-point game with 11.9 remaining. We're not done yet in Columbus. Oh, those guards. They are assassins. The dream is still alive. Mike Jaminski, Virginia now out of timeouts. And for the Cavaliers, 9 points in the last 58 seconds, and the last 7 by Singletary, to no one's surprise.
On that last play, Kane, a little floating screen. His man has got to be up. Childress was buried down in the paint, and that's what allowed Singletary to get the good look. Quick foul here. Keep the ball out of Lofton's hands.
And Tennessee has struggled at the free throw line, although Lofton hit the last couple, which were huge. But now, the best he can do is extend the lead to 3. That's if he makes both, and obviously Virginia with a chance to send the game to overtime.
That's the whole theory. Then we talk about those quick hitting two-pointers early on in the extension of the game. That's what allows you to get to this point, so you have that last shot to tie.
All of the time that he spent in improving his play.
I think he's thinking about Wichita State right now.
Absolutely. Kentucky said no to him, though he was Mr. Kentucky basketball. Louisville didn't recruit him. Playing with that chip on his shoulder that Bruce Pearl identifies with so much, having to coach at the Division II level to get a crack as a head coach at Division I. Again, the Cavaliers with no timeouts. They'll have to get it done right here.
Again, you have to be worried about get up on those screens if you're Tennessee.
Do you foul? You know the three's going up. There's one.
That's right, yeah.
A big question throughout the state of Ohio the last couple of days.
And that's you know, we talked about it with all the coaches yesterday, and you know, Bruce Pearl talked about under 10 seconds. Yeah, you foul. And how many times have you seen the make and then the miss and then the gathering, the offensive rebound and the score?
Well, and we should talk about this, that if you're going to miss, you generally have to alter the shot with more arc with the hope that it'll come off the back iron. Our Chevrolet players of the game. Juwan Smith, what a performance. And J.R. Reynolds, 22 in the first half, 26 for the game. So a high arching shot off the back iron. Is that what you would anticipate here? Let's see. Nope.
They're going to extend.
Yep.
Foul as quickly as they can.
Perhaps with that much time remaining.
If you get a quick foul here, it's still 5 seconds. Plenty of time for a rush up the floor for Virginia, but it's got to be fast.
Lofton fouled in a hurry. Diani and Joseph were both there. It goes against Mamadi Diani.
And Timmy, even with a double team, Lofton still fighting through and becoming a receiver to get the basketball. Virginia trying to do everything they can to keep the ball out of his hands, but he's still got the ball.
.7 remaining. And I believe the officials now have gone to look at the clock to make sure just how much time had elapsed prior to that foul. And at this stage, Dave Lato with an extra tenth or two of a second would make a big difference.
Well, and this is also without a timeout is allowing Dave Lato to get some people over there and work up a play on the fly. He's calling everybody over right now.
6.3 when they inbounded. With all the technology we have now, sometimes we're splitting hairs, but you can make a case, yeah, maybe only 0.3 of a second should have come off.
5-9 maybe.
But you're right, what this does is give a team that's out of timeouts an opportunity to visit with their coach and map something out.
And also now 5.7 seconds, plenty of time to get the ball up to the three-point line. What Tennessee has to be solid on now, you're talking on screens, any kind of floating screens that are out there, and switching on everything, getting a hand up and not fouling.
On the other side, what it does to Bruce Pearl's team is ice his shooter. Now the good news is you wouldn't want anyone at the line other than Lofton.
They're going to leave it at 5.7, but
I'm surprised.
Still a lot of time for Virginia.
They've made their last 7. Chris Lofton wants to get that stat up to number 9.
And Tennessee, not a great shooting team for the free throw line, 65% on the year, but this guy is solid.
You see those other games. We'll be getting you out to more second-round action immediately following our game. UNLV will be taking on Wisconsin. And Purdue in Florida. Now we're told that they are going to change it to 5.9, which we felt would have been more accurate.
Amazing how much angst Bruce Pearl has on his face over 0.2 of a second.
I'm sure he's saying it's a delayed call. Now those games that are underway will be getting you to immediately after we've concluded here. Jason Keane in a position to pick up the rebound here. They'll have to motor up the floor and launch a very quick shot. Tab, who's also an outstanding defender, will come in to give Singletary trouble.
And I like the play to get up and make it hard for him to get the ball up the floor.
Here we go. Singletary, does he have it in him again? The Iron Unkind, Tennessee is headed to the Sweet 16. Alamo Dome, here they come. They'll play the number 1 Buckeyes of Ohio State in the round of 16. Later today, Nevada, Memphis. And we'll get you to those other games right after this break. For Mike Jaminski, Tim Brando, so long for now. More of the NCAA tournament coming your way on CBS.
Hey, new KFC variety big box. Lot of stuff. Gonna eat that drumstick?
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Crispy strip?
My other favorite.
Popcorn chicken?
Favorite.
Mashed
favorite. Favorite. Favorite.
Do you have a least favorite?
I'm gonna eat now.
Now get all your favorites in one box. Introducing the new Variety Big Box from KFC. Popcorn chicken, a crispy strip, a drumstick, mashed potatoes, coleslaw, a biscuit, and a large drink. Fill up on all your favorites